Okay, let me preempt the Composition 1 lecture I did earlier with two things. First of all, it's Chungnam's anniversary today, so congratulations, Chungnam, on your birthday. Uh, I'm here, that's why the building's empty, I guess. Most people are not working. But the main thing is, I accidentally said Composition 1. I mentioned about the exams, and Composition 1, one class is on Monday, one is on Friday. I think I mentioned Tuesday accidentally. Don't be confused. You're still the Monday section. So later this week, when the exam schedule comes out, one exam will be on Monday and one will be on Friday. If there is some sort of conflict, you will be able to choose between the Monday exam and the Friday exam. There's no difference in what I've taught you this semester, and it's not possible really for you to communicate and cheat because there's no multiple choice. Everything's going to be done in a short answer, long answer, or written form, and I'm going to jumble up the questions and mix them up, so there'll be two versions as well. So you're supposed to attend the section that you belong to. Friday should be writing on Friday and Monday should be writing on Monday. But if you have some unavoidable conflict, then you have to let me know and then you can switch. But anyway, whatever I said about Tuesday, ignore that. That's not what I meant. I was just confused. Obviously, the staff is not here today, so the exam schedule will not be set. That will happen later this week. So check the Cyber Campus for notifications and the website. Any questions, email me as usual, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, on with the lecture that was already recorded earlier today. Here we go. Hello and good morning, Composition 1. This is a rare occasion that I'm doing my recording from home. There's a few reasons for that. It was a busy weekend and I had to get some stuff done before I was able to record. So it is Tuesday morning and this will be uploaded as soon as I've edited this morning, and you'll be able to see it this afternoon. There's a lot of things to talk about today. This is our last content class because next week we're going to do review and I'm going to explain to you a few things about the format of the exam and the types of questions and what parts of the textbook you need to pay attention to. But as I said to you last week, the main thing is that you listen to what I say and you look at the assignments I've given you. Some of them have been homework, some of them have been graded, but those are definitely things that you need to make note of as we go through the lectures. The exam schedule has not been set yet. They were setting up the schedule yesterday. Most likely, ours will be on our regularly scheduled day. So we have a Tuesday class and a Friday class, and so we will be having our classes at those times when we would normally have had class if it wasn't online. So that will be arranged. The schedule will be set this week. And I will mention it during my exam review recording, plus it'll be posted on the website and on the Cyber Campus. So you'll have lots of, if you can't notice all of those things, then I'm sorry, you're not paying attention to the class. So the Cyber Campus will have a notice with the exam, the location, and the time. So I will say it in the recorded lecture, and it'll be on my website also. So you'll have 3 different chances to notice. I know some of you are out of town and you're trying to make arrangements, so we're trying to set this up as soon as possible. There's nothing I can do to make the CNU administration get things moving faster. I just have to wait for them to let me know when I'm allowed to do it. So anyway, I talked to the secretary yesterday. The process has begun. So we'll be figuring that out, and it'll be set this week. So look on the Cyber Campus for the notice. If you're anxious about making your arrangements, the next couple days on our Cyber Campus site, that'll be the first place that I post when the exam will be. Now we're trying to wrap up basically the whole semester today. I will do some summarizing and emphasizing next week, but there are 2 chapters remaining that I want to talk about. It's chapter 8 and chapter 10. So remember, just skip chapter 9. We just don't have time for it, and it's more about narrative stuff, which is less related to what I've been talking about in class. We've been talking about arguments and supporting and defending and criticizing, not creating narratives and stories through description, which is mostly what chapter 9 is about. I would love to teach creative writing, but that really should be a different class. As I said, most of your creativity has to come through tone, style, maybe a little bit of humor or references, but you can't just describe some interesting characters and explain them to me to entertain me and make a point. You do have to sort of be serious and focused and formal when you're writing an academic paper. So I know you only have a few days left to hand in your paper. The Tuesday class, everybody's looks like they're doing their homework and handing in their stuff, except for 2 individuals, and they've not done anything the whole semester, so I'm not going to worry about those 2 individuals. The Friday class, basically everybody's done all of their work all along. If you have some issue about submitting something and you've missed the date, it happened once already. Somebody didn't hand in their paper in time and the deadline passed. Send me the email with the file and explain what happened, and I can see that it's 12:30 and you missed the deadline by 30 minutes, okay? If you send me the file 5 days later and say, oh, professor, the system didn't work, tough, okay? So you have to deal with it at the time. The way to deal with it is you made a mistake, you had a technical problem, you immediately email me, you send me your student number, you tell me the reason, and then I can see in my email what the time was that you sent the file. If you send it later and make excuses later, there's nothing that can be done except a big late penalty or a 0. I hope you understand that, okay? So if you have an issue, you have to deal with it at the time like an adult. You can't be like, oh yeah, professor, what about that assignment 1 month ago that I didn't do? Well, that's done. We're not going back and revisiting that. If there was an issue and you wanted to make up for it, it had to be done at the time. I don't have time to go back, weeks and weeks and months into the term and figure out what happened, okay? So you just have to be responsible and let me know what's going on. If there's a problem at the time, if it's your fault or it's a technical problem, it doesn't matter. Just deal with it as soon as possible. Don't leave it until later because it's not going to be fixed later. That's it. Okay, now we can focus. This will be somewhat of a light lecture. I don't want to end the term on, adding too many things for you to prepare for the exam, of course, but we do have a few things to add, some important things, and I know you're doing your paper, so you can, have a look at this lecture and finish your paper and then come back and watch this lecture again next week. Maybe that's a better way to do it, but make sure that you get your credit for your attendance because you still have to do your cyber campus for this week. Don't forget that. So chapter 8 is about problems and challenges. And problems and challenges, it's both chapter 8 and chapter 10 are very good topics in general, types of topics. So there are many types of papers. And as I told you, an essay is not normally something you do for fun. There are some, I would say, odd or different people that do think writing an essay is an exercise of the mind, which they enjoy. I would say it's similar to the type of people that love solving complicated math equations. Is that fun? I think it's torture, personally. But I have friends who went to KAIST, and I have friends who went to MIT, and I have friends who are theoretical mathematicians from Japan and Canada and Australia. And that's what they do. they solve equations that look like they were written by aliens, and that's what they do. They travel around the world, going to conferences, talking about symbols and numbers that don't make sense to regular people. That is not something that would give me a headache instantly. So there are these people that write essays for fun, but they're not normal people. I'm not mean they're bad people. I just mean they're not the same as everybody else. They think differently and they enjoy different things. Most of us are not like that, including me. So when we write an essay, we need to have a particular purpose. Like, why are we doing math? Because we want to solve this equation, because we need to build a bridge. We need to solve this. We need to figure this out because we want to do our taxes. There's a purpose for doing the math. We don't just do math because it's interesting by itself. So I think that's a good way to look at essays too, is when you write an essay, you have a purpose. You're trying to propose an idea, and you're trying to work out the ideas so that you can develop that idea and make a strong argument. And the purpose is perhaps to solve a problem. That's chapter 8. There might be a challenge or a problem that you have to deal with, and so you propose an approach to it, and then you proceed through the body of the paragraph to describe how the logic of that process that will end in an if not a solution, then it will result in an improvement or reduction of the damage of the problem. Sometimes it's not always about fixing or solving the problem, it's just about reducing the damage or preventing something. These are all problem challenge situations, okay? So that's chapter 8. Now, there's a few things in the chapter that go back and remind you about things you need to remember, because the third part of the exam is writing a paragraph. And I'm going to give you the option of writing an argumentative paragraph, right? A persuasive paragraph, a problem paragraph, or a comparative paragraph. There'll be topics, and you can choose. You can even choose different types for the same topic. Okay, so like if the topic is saving the environment, you can write a problem paragraph, or you can do something like, compare two options: nuclear power or renewable energy. Okay, I'm just giving you examples. That's not the question on the exam. Don't worry about that. That might be a little bit too difficult. There's going to be 4 topics for you to choose from on part C, and that's what you have to do, is write a paragraph and demonstrate to me that the skills and exercises and knowledge you have acquired throughout the term can be applied, and you can demonstrate to me that you know what you're doing. Now I'm getting ahead of myself because this is more related to next week's topic, but if you look through all of chapter 8, you will see questions that sort of check to see if you know what the structure is of a paragraph. Number 3 on page 56 says, which sentence is a topic sentence? What does a concluding sentence do? Which of these details and examples could be added? There's a language focus talking about want to, would like to, have to, and how to use them. There's a sentence and examples where you have to complete sentences, which is things that are going to be related to short answer questions on part A of the exam. I'm not assigning this homework. There's no homework anymore. We're done. You just have to do your paper and then prepare for the exam. But I'm saying, there's exercises in this book, and there's questions that when you're studying, you read them, you do them, they will help you do better on the exam. Just like I said, how do you study for a math exam? You don't memorize the math textbook, you do the sample questions in the textbook, and if you can do them well, when the questions show up, you're like, oh, this is familiar, the words are different, but I know how to do this. It's the same thing. Oh, this is familiar, the numbers and they're arranged differently and the numbers are differently, but I know how to solve this type of question. And that's the way you should approach this exam too. It's not a typical English literature exam, because this is a skill-based, this is a supplementary class to teach you how to write better. These are basic skills that you learn so that you can do better in all your English literature classes and all your science classes and psychology classes too. It's teaching you writing skills that you can apply anytime you're writing in any discipline. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you memorize Emily Bronte or Charles Dickens or what did Pip do in Great Expectations, that you're not going to get a better grade if you know that stuff. You have to know how to do things, not memorize what things are. Page 58. Here we go again. Ideas and sentences need to be ordered logically. We talked about this in a Zoom lecture, and I think Banan was the one who was suggesting, why don't we organize it like this? It doesn't matter if you organize it in the different ways, as long as you do organize it. So sentences that have similar ideas naturally go together. You can order them by time. You can order them by priority. You can order them by relationship to a particular thing, importance, emphasis, right? You can go from the least important to the most important, right? You start with the most important and go to the least important. You can, right? You can organize them spatially as well. It doesn't have to be chronological. It can be, this one is over here and this one is over here. Like one's in the front, one's in the middle, one's in the back, one's behind. There's all sorts of different ways that you can organize your ideas. Just have some sort of organization. It shouldn't be just a random list of ideas connected to your main idea in your topic sentence. Think about that as you go. Okay, so to demonstrate that, on page 59, they have an example of a chronological paragraph where there's making language classes interesting. That one is making language classes interesting is in order of importance. That's an example of organizing by importance. And then number 9, they don't organize it for you. It's chronological, so it's pretty easy for you to figure out. You number each sentence, and one event has to follow the other chronologically, otherwise the paragraph doesn't make sense. You can't finish the marathon before you started it. Okay, so those are structural questions to help you practice your structure. But those specific, I'm not going to ask you to reorder. I'm not going to ask you to put a paragraph in order, but just keep that in mind. That order is important. Right. Okay, so then there's another sort of blank paragraph, somewhat similar to what The Horrible Hotel was like, and it's on page 60. But let's move on. All these things are somewhat related to our main, emphasis before on structure and paragraph, topic sentences, and supporting sentences. And we did that in the Zoom lecture as well. So, chapter 10 is about differences, and I'm going to briefly talk about this too. These are basically comparative, we call them compare and contrast, but it's comparison in the differences and the similarities, right? So the paragraph is called differences, but I'm just going to call it a comparative paragraph. It means you take two things, events, people, doesn't matter, 2 ideas about something, and you look at them, and you look at the differences between them. Now, the best comparisons usually have a lot of similarities, but only a few differences. So you usually don't take things that are completely different, that have no similarities at all, because that's not going to be very helpful. What people really want to know is when things are really similar, and they want to make a decision. Okay, so you need to establish some criteria, and you need to pinpoint the small differences between these things. So in the general sense, in many aspects, these two things might be the same. My classic example is McDonald's and Burger King. Okay, on the surface. Sorry, I keep having to itch my eye. Something in my eye. On the surface, these things are essentially the same place. The only difference is the name, right? If you just changed the name and said McDougal's and McDonald's, or Burger King and Burger Queen. In Canada, there is a place called Dairy Queen, but the difference there is they, emphasize ice cream. But essentially, Burger King and McDonald's are in direct competition. So you're on your car, you get out of the car and you're hungry, or you're at Incheon Airport and you look over here and there's a Burger King, and you look over there and it's a McDonald's, and you're starving and you decide you want to get some fast food. Which one are you going to choose? This is the type of thing that you can break down easily in a comparative paragraph. So you got to think though, which particular things do you want to compare? And they're gonna be different. Some of them could be similar, but the most important thing is the differences. So let's do cost. Let's do service, and let's do taste. Okay. Now taste is a very subjective thing, obviously. Okay. So this is going to vary a lot. So if you really wanted to prove that one tasted better than the other, you might have to do some kind of survey and ask like 1,000 people, and say, okay, 650 people out of 1,000 preferred Burger King. That would be something you had to do. But anyway, you could personalize it and say, I like Burger King better, but the taste of it. But really, that's not very persuasive. As I told you, one person's opinion when there are hundreds of millions of people eating this fast food is so insignificant that it's not even worth. Unless you're an important person, it's not going to be valuable. So anyway, cost, first of all, straight up, Burger King costs more. McDonald's is cheaper. Well, okay. In that aspect, you can say that McDonald's wins. It's preferable to, if you're concerned about money, if money is an issue, then you go to McDonald's, no contest. However, if you're concerned about, let's say, the size and how much you're paying, which burger and sets are bigger? You pay more for the Burger King burger, but it's also bigger, right? So if you're hungry, can you have one hamburger set from Burger King versus you might have to get, an extra burger, or get 2 sets from McDonald's to fill you up the same amount. So how much does it cost, per gram or something like that? You could break it down. I'm not saying you should, but if you were a person who was writing a review, you were writing in a magazine and you were really serious about this, or you're taking a scientific approach, right? You can break it down in terms of how many calories you get, how big the drinks are, how much it weighs, how big the size of burgers are. You can talk about the quality, right? All of these things play into it, and you can measure them versus cost per gram, right? Or cost per size, or cost per calorie, or whatever it is, okay? So we're getting into all kinds of different things here. Which one is healthier? They're probably both pretty unhealthy, but one might have the advantage in having less salt, or McDonald's, because it's a smaller meal, might be healthier for you, things like that, right? So anyway, when you organize your comparison, this is the most important thing. If you set your criteria, right? If you set your criteria and you're going to talk about cost first, and then you're going to talk about taste, and then you're going to talk about something else, right? Then you're going to have to organize, go point by point, cost and taste. We'll just keep it simple. We'll throw out the third one and just make it easy. You're just going to go cost, taste, quality, or cost, taste, health. And then do Burger King first and then McDonald's second. And if you do cost, taste, health one by one, you would have to do Burger King, cost, right? Cost, Burger King, cost, McDonald's. It's easier with the diagram here. Maybe I should do this. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on your phone. Let me see if I can find a marker. Gotta have one here somewhere. There we go. I do have a little whiteboard here. You can see it. It's kind of in the corner, but I think I'll draw this big enough that you might be able to see it. So we'll just do cost. We'll take the taste thing out because it's too subjective. So we'll do cost, health, quality. Okay? Cost, health, quality. Okay, so these are your three criteria. We're doing McDonald's and we're doing Burger King. Okay? So you can do Burger King first and then McDonald's. Do all three like that, or you can do cost and do BK, McDonald's, health, BK, McDonald's, quality, BK, whoops, not KK, not laughing. Okay? So you're gonna end up with two choices. So on the left, you've got a block. 3 criteria, one side. Other side, 3 criteria. That's block. On the other side, you go point by point. Cost, 1, 2. Health, 1, 2. Quality, 1, 2. Okay? Notice I just threw the taste one out there because that's not a good idea. How are you going to measure taste? The only way is to get thousands. Everybody has different, taste buds and senses of smell. So you're not going to get a good answer from 1 or 2 people. You're literally going to have to get thousands of people to do a survey. So that's not a good choice for an undergraduate essay when you don't have the opportunity to check so many people's taste, sense of taste. So that's how you do a comparison. That really is not going to be on the exam, except if you choose to write your paragraph, and you're allowed to write a comparative paragraph because it is very useful. The reason I'm talking about this is you can imagine all your life you're going to walk around and say, well, am I going to buy a Hyundai or a Kia? Or am I going to buy a Samsung or an Apple phone? Or am I going to go to McDonald's or Burger King, right? Or am I going to fly to the Philippines or Thailand? You're going to walk around doing this all the time. And when products, places, events, and people are similar, you're going to have to make a decision. You don't have to write an essay, but an essay is a way where you can really carefully break something down and look at it in detail. That's why we look up these reviews, on the internet. When you want to decide about an important purchase, you look at reviews, and the more technical and the more detailed the breakdown and the comparison is, the better the information you have in order to make your decision. And sometimes it's a huge decision, financially, personally, for your life, socially. So, having good information, and essays are a way of presenting information in a very logical, convincing way, which is beneficial to the consumer, to the citizen, right? To the student, okay? And I think we'll stop there. I'm not even going to go into that chapter much further because our time is about up. You're trying to finish your essays. I noticed very few of them have been handed in, which means essentially you're working on them. There are examples in the textbook showing block, and sometimes they call it point by point or step by step, but you can look through the chapter a little bit yourself if you want to get an idea of how to do it. Make sure you take a look further in the textbook. There's a little bit of good information about how to write things, you know, causality using transitions. But earlier in the semester, I gave you a huge list of transitions that included pretty much all of the stuff that's in the textbook in terms of that anyway. So that's it for the content. Next week, I'll be back to talk to you about the format of the exam, what types of questions are on it, and what you need to study from your textbook. Okay, thank you everybody. Good luck with the final touches on your papers and your other assignments and getting ready for exams. Not much farther to go. 2 or 3 more weeks and it's summer, so hang in there and study hard. See you again next week.